John Hinckley Jr. is an American musician, and he is also the individual who tried to assassinate President Ronald Reagan in 1981 in Washington, D.C., after he had recently just delivered a speech. In the year following, in 1982, the court had ruled that Hinckley was not guilty by reason of insanity. He was then sent to a mental facility for, I believe, 30 years and was actually just recently released in 2022. In relation to this week's module, which is competency and criminal responsibility, I think this case emphasized the importance of competency when it comes to trial. In terms of Hinckley's case, I don't believe he was able to fully understand at the time of the crime and maybe even a year later um, what he did was necessarily wrong and the consequences that would follow. Therefore, I don't think he would be competent in trial. I believe that his emotions took over and interfered with his ability to be logical and rational at the time. However, after reading news articles, it did say that he apologized and that he has been remorseful for years, which also emphasized this part about this week's module dealing with the importance of criminal responsibility. In my opinion, the court's ruling was appropriate. According to a news article I found, which is called John Hinckley Jr. Seeks Forgiveness for Shooting Reagan Presidential and Entourage by Juju Chang, Al Soiket, Karen Weinberg, John Capel, and Ivan Pereira. He had claimed that the reason that he had attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan was to impress actress Jodie Foster. But he even said that he had no ill will against Reagan and called him a good, nice man who he thought was a good president. When I first heard this, I thought that it was, the need to impress an individual was normal on his behalf because any normal, typical individual sometimes does show off to get attention, especially for a person that they have interest in. But what really led me to agree with the court's decision was that he thought that trying to kill someone was the best way to get Jodie Foster's attention, maybe seem like this really rebellious, not superhero, because his action would not be deemed as a superhero, but he wanted to have some significance in order for Jodie Foster to see him, so he felt that trying to kill someone would be the best way. That is really what led me to agree with the court's decision. Furthermore, it says in the article that Hinckley told Nightline that he was severely depressed, estranged from his family, and in full despair when he plotted to shoot the president. So furthermore, his mental illnesses were interfering with his ability to make rational decisions, and therefore, I do believe he wasn't necessarily thinking about the consequences, nor whether what he was doing was rational and socially acceptable. And he had also said it was in ways like a suicide attempt, just saying, this is it, this is the end of my life. So he compared his attempted assassination to a suicide attempt, which in ways I can understand. However, again, I just think it's the mental illness that was interfering with his ability to just think rationally, logically, and make rational decisions. And so, therefore, again, I agree with the court's ruling. I just also think that sending him to a mental health facility was a really great step for the criminal justice system to take, because I feel like oftentimes mental illnesses are overlooked and they just focus on the crime that the person had committed. But I think it was crucial that he received that help right away rather than being incarcerated. And I think that help was significant, again, because when he recently gotten out, had apologized and felt remorseful for what he did. Lastly, in terms of what this case taught me about the criminal justice system and mental health, is that it is crucial for people to understand where someone is mentally, whether they're stable, because when it comes to standing trial, it is crucial that someone is competent in order for a fair trial and to uphold the due process, meaning that the person is treated fairly and justly. I feel like if people are aware that the person has a mental illness, there can be bias, preconceived notions, and that can interfere with due process. This also would guarantee the defendant's ability to understand the proceedings and assist in their defense. If they are mentally disturbed and not in the right mental place, they completely just aren't aware of what's going on. They could say something they don't mean, they don't agree with. Overall, it's extremely important that people with mental illness are assessed, receive help, and that the criminal justice system is cognizant of that to make sure that everyone, regardless of their mental health, race, religion, age, gender, anything, get fair treatment. But I thought this case was very interesting, and again, I think the criminal justice system went well in their decision making with this. And I get the next module.